Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. I hope that you guys are doing well and you would have been watching my other videos. We're starting my January strong. And before I say anything else, please remember to like, subscribe and share. It really helps this channel a lot. Now, my second to last video, I was talking to you guys about becoming a teacher in Jamaica. And I did mention to you guys at the beginning, how do we find jobs? So I did mention like Indeed, going to school websites. So today I want to talk to you guys about my journey here in Canada, how I found the job I have now, how I started, because sometimes being here, coming from your country, we have different perceptions of different jobs. And when you get here, you're going to realize the culture is a little bit different. And so things that in your country might have been jobs that people look down on, in this country, it's just a normal everyday life and you just want to have a job. I'm going to talk about the importance of just getting your foot through the door. So whenever you're going to apply to any job, something that they're going to ask you at first, do you have Canadian experience? And you're saying to yourself, well, I'm new to the country. How am I going to get Canadian experience? To get the experience, you must work. And so sometimes if in your country, you hear it all the time before coming to Canada, oh, I'm a doctor in my country or I'm an engineer in my country, but when I come to Canada, I'm doing something else. It's because sometimes when you come here, they're asking you for that experience. And I remember when I first got here, opening a bank account, and I met my advisor at the bank, and I was so inspired listening to him because he was saying, well, he's working in a bank now, but to get his Canadian experience when he left school, he was working in a grocery store, and that qualifies as experience. You just want to get your foot through the door. So as I said in the beginning, we did mention talking about Indeed, how you use it to actually find a job. So yes, you have different websites that persons will use when they get here to try to find a job. Looking online, most times it's really competitive when you're trying to apply for these jobs. And so you're looking at Indeed, and sometimes when you apply, you might see, oh, 10,000 people would have applied for the same job. And so for me, I would advise you, even if you are looking on Indeed, for example, you look for positions where you don't apply there. Look at the companies, go to the company's website, and then you apply through their website. Same thing if you're looking at different things that they have here. You have LinkedIn, Simply Hire, remote jobs, whatever it is. Try to go directly to the companies if you really want to get yourself seen. Now that is if you're looking online. Sometimes this is not even something for us. We have to do what we know. And I'll start with my journey of when I first got here to where I am now. So I landed in Canada around July, the middle of July or so when I came here. So I've been here about 16 months now. So that would have been 2024. So yeah, July 2024, I would have landed here. And so coming here, you're going through different experiences, but for me, as I mentioned, I was a teacher in Jamaica, and so coming here, I still wanted to be in that profession, but sometimes things will not go as smoothly. And also for me, I started my postgraduate degree in education from back home, and coming here, I had to do some summer classes from back home, and we have a time difference. So when I first got here, I know that those 2 weeks up until the first week in August, I would still be doing my classes from back home for that degree. So I wasn't really thinking about a job per se to actually go out and look because I wouldn't have the time. However, after finishing that, I started to look aggressively. So in August, I just started applying for everything I saw. And I got a couple of interviews, but I think most times, for example, I applied to McDonald's, I got an interview, but I think when I went there, the person would have realized that, well, maybe this person is just looking for something temporary until they really find something in their field. So I didn't get hired there. I also got an interview for a supermarket here as well, and I think it was the same thing. And so even though it might not be your intention at the time, sometimes who you are or where you really want to be will shine through in some of these interviews, and I really think that is why sometimes you won't get the job just to get your foot to the door. So my husband came here as an international student, and so for him, actually, he would have met some people like playing football. So it's very important when you get here to network. That's so important, to go out to meet people. Even if you're a shy person, going out and talking to people will really make a big difference in your job search. And so he would have met some people playing football, and through that I would have gotten my first job here. And I started this job the end of August. And that job was a cleaning job. Now, coming from Jamaica, coming here, these are jobs that typically you probably won't look for, especially if you have a degree or you've graduated. And so for me, it was like, you know what, I just want to have a job. I want to start earning. It doesn't matter what it is. So I started to work in that job. And for about 2 to 3 weeks to a month, I was just doing that job 5 days a week. I'll start in the morning, 8 to 5. So normal working hours, and I would come home. But I was saying to myself, you know, this salary and looking at your expenses, I'm like, you know, I really want to try to get myself out there. So even though I was doing this cleaning job, I was still looking for jobs in my field, which is in teaching. Now, I was working on a university campus as just a part of their cleaning staff. And on the campus, they actually had a food services. And most times what you'll notice is that when you go into different spaces, you might have multiple companies on one site. So there was a food service there. And I said to myself, well, I'm going to try to see, because I know that at the food services, it's for the university students. So they would have been going until like 10:30, 11 at night. So I was like, okay, if I finish this job at 5, if I could also get a job there in the evening, then I could have an additional income. Most persons here, when you try to apply, they're gonna say to you, go online, go to our company website and just apply, wait to hear back from us. For me, I was like, you know what, I'm gonna try the old school way. I printed out my resume and I walked to the door and I said, are you guys hiring? And the manager said, yes, we are actually hiring, and we would want to hire you because of your English. It would be really good if our students could actually speak to someone who is coming from an English speaking country. And so just by going in and asking, I got a job. And even though as a student and as an individual, what I always say is that sometimes in life is either persons are gonna say yes or they're gonna say no, but you won't find out unless you ask. So even if it's a no, accept your no and move on. And if it's a yes, then you're grateful for your yes. So I was working those 2 jobs. I was in my cleaning job in the day, and then at night I would do like a food server at night. And I was doing that typically just Monday to Friday. On the weekends I wouldn't work. I would just have that time off. And I was doing that up until the second week of October. So even though I was working those jobs, I still did not give up on my field, which is in teaching. So I was still looking, still applying. And I did explain to you guys the process of actually becoming a teacher here. So sometimes, you know, you're applying, and I also came here late in the school year. So most of the schools, being in the system now, I know they would have probably already hired persons. And so I was just looking for schools, looking for schools. And where I'm at now, I saw the job, but I didn't apply for it originally because it was a bit too far from where I lived. And so I saw it, but I ignored it. Eventually, I applied. I was like, you know what, this job, I've been seeing it for a while, and clearly they haven't gotten anybody as yet. It was a maternity cover, and sometimes too, that's also a deterrent, because maternity covers can be 6 months up to a year, 8 months, it depends. And then when the person comes back, you really have no job. So I know that can be a deterrent for persons, but for me coming here, I was only here from July. That was no October. I was like, you know what, I just want to get, again, your foot through the door. So for me, I wanted to just be in that space. So it doesn't matter what in teaching, I just wanted to be in the teaching field. So I applied for the job, and the next day, the principal reached out to me. She gave me a call, and she spoke to me for a little while, and she was asking if I'm still interested in the position. I said yes. And then, you know, we scheduled an interview. And so I was doing all of this while still doing my other 2 jobs, because I wouldn't advise you to come here because you have an interview to quit your jobs. You need to wait to solidify your position in these companies. And so I went to my interview. I got the job. I was super grateful, super happy to know being in an environment where I could practice what I've been doing in my home country. And so I would have just given my notice to my day job, which was the cleaning job, that the following week I would be taking up my position somewhere else. And so I did that, but I did not give up my night job. So I was going to my teaching job in the day, leaving, coming to my night job, and just doing that over a period of time. I did that up until last year around April, when the university closed for their summer holiday, and I did not return for this coming year as I moved closer to my now job. So it would just be an inconvenience for me to be going back and forth, because at the time I was living closer to those jobs. So I would have moved recently to be closer to my teaching job. And so that is how I would have worked my way in. And I was a maternity cover. Persons do leave sometimes in the teaching profession, and so we had a couple of teachers who would have left to go to other provinces, and so they had positions available, and I applied and I got through to be a full-time teacher where I am working now. And so from that experience, it won't be just one shot for everyone. There are persons here who would say, you know, I've been here for a while, I've been applying. In 2026, I would say you need to stand out from all the other persons, and sometimes standing out will not be applying online like everyone else. Let us try the old school way. Print your resumes if you're in the same position. Go to these companies, apply. Some of them will even ask you to interview on the spot. When I went to the supermarket, that's what happened to me. I interviewed on the spot just with my resume. So that can happen to you too. So you need to be prepared for all situations. Also, if you're unable to get a job, but you need the Canadian experience, it's very important for Canadian companies that you have experience here, you know how to work within their system. You could also volunteer. Lots of persons here volunteer, and they're great opportunities, because I think once you would have volunteered for 80 hours, these companies will give to you a reference letter to say, hey, this person has been volunteering for 80 hours, they have experience being around other persons working within the Canadian environment. I also volunteered at a food bank. Food is my passion, so yes, I would have actually had to get there. So it's always a pleasure for me to volunteer and to give of myself to others, and just to talk to people, because it's so good to interact with other persons, especially people like you. You meet so many newcomers, you meet so many immigrants, so many persons, you know, asking you how to do this or how to do that. And it's always good to have to hear different perspectives. So I also volunteered at a food bank during the period, and that gives us just such great joy. Outside of that, I would tell you that you need to be networking. It doesn't matter what it is. Find these events, go to the events. Not everything will be a paid service, but you're actually investing in yourself in the long run. Find these events, go to the events. When you go to your newcomers, whatever it is that they have for newcomers, go and get it. And one of the most important thing too for newcomers is to get your resume vetted. So we have immigration services here in Vancouver, which is Mosaic. I'm not sure if that's how they pronounce it. But when I came here, I was researching different methods or tools that I could use to develop or uplift myself, making myself employable here. And I went to them, and they would have helped me with my resume. Resumes here are done differently from maybe how it's done in your home country. So it's very important that your resume is done, so that when you apply for jobs, it will be picked up quickly. So it's not like 3 pages, 2 pages of just stuff. They really narrow it down to the important things that the employers here are looking for. So that was also a big thing for me, going there and just getting into these services, and also learning new skills. So through the same body, they offer free classes for like food services. I was working in service at night, so I did that free training for Food Safe, and I also did for first aid free of cost. And these are things that will help you, because even when you're going into schools, for example, my profession to teach, persons need to have like first aid. You need to be able to help students. And if you're going into a school as a cafeteria, then that might be the case. I didn't mention earlier that my school doesn't have one, but in the field I was working with, that was great help to me to actually have that there. And so you're helping to develop yourself. So sometimes coming here, you start small, but in the end, it will work out. So if you look at it, when I came here in July, so that is July, August, September, and then by October I had a job in my profession because I didn't give up and I kept trying. You always have to keep trying. It doesn't matter how a situation might look for you. There are jobs out there. I know sometimes when you're looking up things about Canada, if you want to come here, you might see things, oh, you know, we have a job shortage here, this or that. But the thing is that sometimes based on what you would have studied, that's the exact skill that they need, but you just need to put yourselves out there. So from my journey, I'm just talking to you. If you're planning to come here, that's the things that I would recommend. Even if you have to start small, just do that job. Just get your foot through the door. Don't think about how other people might think of you, especially where you're coming from in terms of the job that you're doing. You just need to have something that is paying your bills, that can keep you going until you get to your goal. For most persons, sometimes people will say, I've been searching for like 6 months or a year. While that wasn't my experience, it is a reality for some people. And even if that is the reality, you just have to understand that sometimes coming to a new country, things will not run smoothly, but you have to try your best. You know why you came here and what you want to get out of coming here. So you just have to keep your head up high and just do what you need to do. It won't always be smooth sailing, but in a job search, especially for someone who has been out of it for a couple of years, let us say that you're used to having your position where you're comfortable. Coming here, it's like, oh my gosh, what is going on? What did I get myself into? Lots of persons might be thinking the same thing, but it's just important for you to try. So get going. Have your resumes done properly. Have them printed. Be interviewable. So if you go to somewhere, you need to be ready on the spot. How do you present yourself? Try to be that shining force. And as I said earlier too, not everything might be a paid opportunity. Sometimes we need to afford ourselves our futures. And so if you get an opportunity to volunteer, go do that. Have fun doing it. Have a grateful heart that you're actually able to volunteer to help other people who might be less fortunate than you. And these things will help to build your character, will help to build you as you continue in your job search. And as I said also in the beginning, networking is going to be your tool. Any networking events that you see, go. Talk to people. I remember even, I'll give you one more instance where I did apply for a job for the city. And while I did not get the job, I would have gotten, of course, the rejection to say, you know, we're going to move on with other people. And at that time for me, I was saying to myself, come in here, like, why are so many persons talking about like rejection? And even if I'm getting a rejection, why? I wanted to know why. Because at that time I was like, I'm searching, I heard, I was rejected, why? And actually I called the city and I called the persons in that particular department and I was like, I applied for a job, but I realized that I was rejected. Can you give me some pointers for when I'm looking for future jobs? And the HR manager were so nice. She said, okay, I'm going to pull up your record. I'm going to look at your resume to see whatever was there. And so she actually walked me through it, why other persons were selected over me. Of course, it was a position that I was not used to doing, but I still wanted to apply because I'm like, you know what? You don't know what it is. You might just be an anomaly. So you might apply for something that you have no knowledge in, but something about you. So I did apply because of that. And she was like, okay, other persons had prior experience, yada yada yada, things that you would expect. But she did tell me like things about my resume, how to make myself stand out for other future opportunities, etc. And I was so grateful to be able to talk to someone, even though it was a rejection. So sometimes rejection doesn't always mean you're stopping or it's just everything is over for you. Sometimes you have to go through that process for you to be grateful for where you will be in the end. And so for me now in my teaching opportunity, this has opened so many doors for me. Meaning that when I finished my maternity cover, the teacher did come back. And so I did not go into the phase of being a guest teacher at that school up until the end of the school year. And before I got an interview to actually become the full-time teacher there that I am now, I would have applied to other schools. And because I would have had experience teaching here, I got quite a bit of interviews and I was actually offered positions at other schools that I would have turned down. because I got the chance to be full-time here, and they gave me my first opportunity here in teaching in Canada. So sometimes it won't always be smooth sailing, but you'll get there. And it doesn't matter what it is for you to start, even if you're starting small, just start. So it doesn't matter what the job is. It might not be something that you like or where you want to see yourself, but as long as your bills are paid and you can see some way to get to where you want to be, I would advise you to keep along that path. And if you guys have any other questions or anything you guys would like me to talk about as it relates to your job search, being here, feel free to leave a comment down below. Again, please remember to subscribe and share. And as we grow together, I hope to hear from a lot more of you as it relates to my content, as I'll be posting more things on immigrations, how to do your own applications without paying people. So many things I'm going to be talking about on this channel. So I hope that you guys will come along with me as we continue to grow. So I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye guys.